Yes, welcome to Football Heritage TV Plus, or FHTV Plus if you prefer. Look who I've got. Today I'm joined by one of Newcastle's best podcasts and a top guy as well. You've seen him on things like Sky Sports. He's getting famous. We've got Pete from Loaded Mag. Pete, thank you for joining me. How you doing? You all right?
Pleasure, mate. Cheers for having me, Sabo. All good with me personally, but yeah, I'm sure we're going to be talking about my beloved Newcastle United, and yeah, it's been an interesting roller coaster. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it. I've titled the show "Newcastle United: The Season So Far," and I want to know from you how it's gone, because looking from the outside in, I saw a Newcastle who it's a bit shaky, been a bit of a shaky start, and then you went like that. Now it's kind of you've leveled out with all the other teams fighting for the top four. What happened? Am I right in that summary? What's happened with Newcastle season if we just look at the Premier League for the moment?
You're absolutely right, mate. You are absolutely right. It's been a very up and down season. Look, if we have to be honest with ourselves as a club, we have to rewind all the way back to the end of June with the PSR window, losing Elliot Anderson, Yakube Minte, scrambling to make those sales, Anthony Gordon being linked with a last-minute move to Liverpool. All of that has a factor in this. It plays a part in the season. Maybe not what's happening right now, but certainly at the beginning part of the season, because there's no doubt in my mind and a lot of other fans' minds that the players came back a little bit disillusioned with Newcastle United in the direction we were going, with the speculation on some of their players, some of our better players' futures, let's be honest. And it was very much a rocky start. We actually started winning matches and doing all right, but the football wasn't good. The football was not good, and it was very clear that football wouldn't be sustainable. But we all had hope that the football would kick into gear.
Sure.
What ultimately happened is that after the luck ran out, where we weren't playing well but picking up results, we actually started playing better, but the results weren't coming. And it was almost like the polar opposites. Like
style over substance at that point, right? It's which one are you picking? Yeah.
And it literally was the opposite. So we started playing well and not picking up points, and so it became a little bit of a frustration. Then there was a little bit of a turning point where we lost to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge around October time, and then we had Chelsea again 3 days later in the the Carling Cup, Carabao Cup, whatever you want to call it.
St. James Park, second one.
That cup, cup.
The Rumbelows. If you're as old as me, the Rumbelows Cup, right? Yeah. Show my age. Yeah.
So that was the starting of the sort of turning point, because we almost started playing the way that we know we can. We won against Chelsea. We then won against Arsenal in the league at St. James's Park. And then we went on the week after to go on and beat Forest at their place. And we were one of the only teams early on in the season to beat them. We beat them comfortably, openly. Our Forest fans said we beat them well. And we looked like we were back. The international break came and it just threw everything out. We lost to West Ham in an awful game at St. James's Park, drew to Palace, and everyone's like, what is going on here? And then we turn up against Liverpool at St. James's Park just before the beginning of December, and we go toe-to-toe with them. 3-3 draw, one of the games of the season. It was brilliant. And it was all over the place. But then we lose to Brentford convincingly 4-2 away from home. And that's where the change happened. Beginning of December, it was a case of, right, we now need to start playing and putting results together, or this season's fizzling out. Forget the cup, it's fizzling out. And that's when the 9-game unbeaten run kicked in. So you can already see from what I'm saying, it is very up and down. There's never really been any form of consistency until that point. The 9-game run that took us through December into the end of January, or sort of mid to end of January, was the best run of the season. And we were like, this is where we've been. This is what we wanted to be. This is what we wanted to see. We felt that Newcastle United at that point were back.
Right.
Until Bournemouth. And Bournemouth absolutely wiped the floor with us.
But before Bournemouth, was it 9 on the bounce? I might be making up. Was it 8 or 9 wins on the bounce? And it's funny you should say that, because you beat my lot early on in the season. I believe it was like the third or fourth game of the season. You beat us 2-1. And to be honest, I thought we were quite good that day. We had a lot of the ball. We had loads of chances. You guys didn't really do anything but won the game. And I remember reading a couple of weeks later, I was reading some Newcastle fans saying, Eddie Howe out. I've had enough of Eddie Howe. And I remember thinking to myself, is it that bad? Like, I thought, I'm a big fan of Eddie Howe, as you know. But what can I ask, what's the feeling like now that you are, look, if we look at the Premier League table now, you're sitting there 6th place. You are, you're 4 points off of 3rd. You are 3 points off of 4th and 2 points off of 5th, which should get Champions League football this season, all to do with the coefficient points in England. But what's the feeling now you're there? What is the feeling amongst Newcastle fans with Eddie Howe that in general? Because I know every fan base has got different pockets of fans, but what's the general consensus about Eddie Howe and the job that he's done in his tenure at Newcastle and more so this season?
Being honest, the fan base is a little bit split at the moment.
Right.
I say a little bit. It's quite a bit split at the moment with Eddie Howe, and it's probably split 3 ways. You've got the fans that absolutely love Eddie Howe and will back him regardless, because we've seen Bruce and Pardew and various other managers before that we didn't like and get on with. Less so Pardew. I think people have understood Pardew's situation now and kind of give him a little bit of respect for that. But certainly the likes of Steve Bruce and many others that we didn't necessarily get on with during that era. So we understand that point of view. So there's the Eddie Howe in, and those that completely 100% back him. You've got on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Eddie Howe outs. Now, they're not Eddie Howe outs just recently. You have to go back over a year now.
Right.
The run back at last season, last January, so January 2024, even going further back than that, December 2023, when we lost to Luton, lost to Forest on Boxing Day, and then we lost to Liverpool. We were going for a run. And it was a case of, there was a fans at that point, after we lost to Liverpool, we had Sunderland in the FA Cup, the big derby.
Right.
And there were some Newcastle fans at that point saying, if he doesn't win this, we want him out. There were some fans that were saying that.
But they're still upset from then. Are they still? They're still legacy from. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There were still some fans that from that moment when they were like, Eddie out, we want him out, this, that, and the other. They've stuck with it. Now, when the tide's been going our way and we've been playing well, you don't hear a peep from them. They're quiet. They're silent. They're nothing.
Right.
As soon as we lose or there's something that goes wrong, if there's a bad substitution, even if we win, the bad substitution or a bad tactical formation or formation that doesn't quite work, they're out. They're out.
Right.
Again. The run of form recently, as you can imagine, where we have been losing some games and not playing well, they've been all over them. They're the ones you see on social media. They're the loudest.
Can I ask though, Pete, can I ask then, like, with all due respect, listen, I know Newcastle have been going in a good direction since Eddie Howe joined. And what is it that they want? Like, what is it that they expect? Because I know that loads of fans, as football fans, we all expect that our team should be winning leagues and stuff. But realistically, he got you a top 4 finish, a League Cup final 2 years ago. You're in the League Cup final again. You could get Champions League this season. What is it that they want? What is it that they're expecting?
Being honest and speaking to some of those fans that are quite strong with Eddie Howe out, what they want now is a more highly reputable manager.
Right.
That's it. They want that. They want that poster manager that is either is a well-known foreign manager, done well in Europe.
They want a Jose.
Yeah, there are some of the Eddie Howe outs that would actually take him, and there is a link to Newcastle with Jose because of Bobby Robson, who he worked under at Barcelona, and he's got an affiliation with Newcastle. Keeps touting himself for Newcastle as well. So when fans hear his name, they do get excited. Those Eddie Howe outs, they want someone like that. They want a reputable man. They want a name now. They see Eddie Howe as very much a kind of a first.
Is he the man before the man? They see him as the guy before the guy. Yeah.
And he was dubbed that when he first came in, although the ownership didn't believe that that was the case. He was dubbed that. So because he's now been here 3 years, it's almost their mindset that he's had his time. We need to move him on. We need a highly reputable manager that can come in and take us to the next phase.
Sure.
And that's understandable to a point. But the point that I keep raising in that, because I'm kind of I love Eddie Howe. I wanted him a year before he actually signed for the club. I'm a big fan, but I'm not this beloved Eddie Howe in all over the place. I like to think I'm a little bit in the middle. Like, no manager is avoiding of criticism. So I will criticize when I don't think he's done something well, but equally, I will praise him when I think, like he did in semi-final second leg against Arsenal, where he did another masterclass over Arteta, and I'll praise him and I'll say he's the reason why we won that game. And so I'm kind of in the middle. So when I look at it and I hear the Eddie Howe outs say, I want this high-level, reputable manager, my question to them is, who in their right mind as a highly reputable manager will come into a club that is literally being hamstrung at the moment, that doesn't have the funds to go out and actually, well, we do have the funds, the owners do, but we don't have the capacity to actually go out and spend the type of money that those elite level managers actually would command when they come in. It was a reason why Antonio Conte didn't sign for Newcastle United. He was in the running when we first took over. He eventually obviously went to you boys. But
what a mistake that was.
Well,
for him.
But this is the thing. He's a manager. He's a manager that wants money. He's a manager that wants money to spend and buy players. You look what he's doing in Italy now. He's not doing that over a shoestring. He's doing that over spending money. Kvaratskhelia got sold because he wants to reinvest that money into the buy more players. And this is the thing. Newcastle United fans, particularly those Eddie Howe outs, don't understand that a highly reputable manager wants guarantees. They want to come in and be able to spend money. You know, you're not going to get a high-level manager of that course. So Eddie Howe is a fantastic coach. He coaches players to be better. You can list so many in that squad that have been and gone that he's made better during his time at the club. And so he is the manager at this moment in time that can coach players to be better on a little bit of a shoestring budget until we're in a position of strength to be able to sign players again, which hopefully this summer we are going to be.
And what will their feeling be from your point of view if you get Champions League football this year plus win the League Cup, which we're going to talk about in a minute? Surely at that point you've got to say, well, you'll tell me, he will be your most successful manager for decades, right? If he was top 4 trophy. I'm not sure that there are any managers that come in with the squad you've got at the moment and go, right, let's challenge Liverpool, because that's the next step, right? For where you are, surely that's what those fans want. So would they change their tune if you were to win the League Cup?
I don't think there'd be, well, I think for a lot of the Eddie Howe outs, I think they would have no choice but to, because you just said it, Savrin, you're absolutely right. If Eddie Howe was to put a trophy, Carabao Cup, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's a major trophy. In that trophy cabinet that we haven't had for nearly 70 years, there has been no other way than go, you know what, fair play, because he'd have done what Sir Bobby Robson hadn't done. He'd have done what Kevin Keegan hadn't done. He'd have done what a lot of other managers, Rafa Benitez and others, have not been able to do at Newcastle United that are considered more higher reputable managers. So he's done what others haven't done if he is successful in that. And so there's no excuse. I have asked this question to a few Eddie Howe outers, and there have been one or two that have come back and said, the Carabao Cup, it's a third-rate trophy, and they're belittling it. Not deep in it or understanding that actually we haven't won a major trophy in 30 years. 98% of the fan base don't care what type of major trophy it is.
Yeah,
We just
just
want to
win
win a major trophy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
put it on the mantelpiece, because we haven't had it for so long. And we know as a fan base that putting that trophy in the cabinet will not only it will kind of expel the hoodoo, which we have in terms of winning trophies because it's been so long. But as well as that, it will breed confidence to go, you know what? We've put a major trophy on the table and in the cabinet. We know we can go and do it. We can kick on and try and win it again or win more. That's the mentality, because we want to be this club. There's no doubt about it. The owners have spoken in the last 24 hours. They want to be competitive at the top end of the table long term. They're building to do that, but that's where they want to be. And they want to be challenging for trophies every year. It's a slow build, slower than we expected, but that's where we want to be. So that first one is absolutely crucial, mate.
It's the first one that the Klopps win, that the Peps win. That it's the first one that they all win. Look, I'm probably a bit of a hypocrite here, because I am actually Ange Postecoglou out from a Tottenham perspective. But equally, if Tottenham go and win the Europa League this year, I have to swallow a bit of humble pie and go, okay, well, you're now our most successful man, not the best, but you're our most successful manager in the last 40 odd years, So, I mean, look, a couple of things I want to talk about. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to talk about two individual players, and then I want to talk about the League Cup final. The first one I want to talk about is Alexander Isak. He is, from my point of view, he's your star man, right? That's your star possession. That's the guy that if he goes, I reckon you're looking at over 100 million for this guy. What's the appetite for him staying? Because he is now in an era where there aren't many great strikers. He is now a shining light across Europe as one of the best. Yeah. Do you think he wants to stay? What's going to keep him staying? And what sort of bids it going to take for somebody to lure this man away from Newcastle? Because replacing him, Pete, is going to be bloody difficult, isn't it?
Irreplaceable, mate. Yeah. That's the word that I keep saying. Alexander Isak is irreplaceable. There is no striker in the world right now that can do what Alexander Isak can do. There might be strikers that can score more goals and get goals and assists that are more than Alexander Isak, but there is no striker in world football that can do what he can do. He is, for me, he is the complete centre forward. He can do everything. He can run in behind. He can hold up the board. He's good in the air. He can link the play. He can drift out wide. He can stay in the middle and be a fox in the box. He can do everything. He's electric quick. He's got skills and flair to create moments of magic. Like, he is like the best for me out there as an all-round striker in the world right now. People will argue whether he's the best, period, because of the likes of Haaland and various others, and there is a massive argument for that because Haaland does score more goals than him, and others maybe do score more goals than him, but he can do everything. You talked about what is his appetite for staying. Now, forget the speculation at the moment, because the 99% of that is a load of rubbish.
Yeah, of course.
Alexander Isak, whenever he's spoken about Newcastle United, and it hasn't been prompted, it hasn't been pushed, he has openly spoken about how happy he is at the club. Now, that's not going to stay forever. I think most Newcastle fans are going to be aware of that, unless we're providing him with things that he needs. For example, Champions League football is, well, for me, first and foremost, we need to be providing with minimum European football. He is a European football player. There's no doubt about it. Secondly, Champions League football, because he wants to be playing at the highest level, of course. And then thirdly, he wants to be challenging for trophies. Now, he knows we're a project, because he wouldn't have signed for us if he didn't realize that we're a project. And he knows that. But for me, what he needs to see is progression. He needs to see progression now on the pitch. As well off it, there's talk of our new training ground being announced at the end of the season and various other things. He needs to see progression. So for me, that is the key. Now, first of all, he needs to see that we're in the positions that he wants us to be. So where we finish this season will be really, really important to that. Secondly, who we are targeting this summer. Now we've been told that we do have money to spend. Our financials have come out. They're looking strong for the last year. And so we are in a position where we can put money on the table this summer. Finally, this will be the fourth window without signing a player. So we need to sign players this summer. And we're talking that we're going to. So the players that come in the summer will be a huge point in whether he stays or not. So those two things are absolutely critical. Now, the other thing that people don't think about or consider is that this summer, he still has 3 years left on his contract. So not only has a team got to pay a stupid amount of money, and I'm talking, you said over 100 million, we're talking, and the club are talking anywhere between 140, 150 million to get him out of the club because of his length of contract.
Who he is,
and everything you explained, Sava, who he is. He is a hot commodity. There's no one else like him out there. We know that. So
there'll be a fight for his signature. I feel like it'll be one of those where, and obviously I'm not trying to sell your player, I'm just hypothetical here. The moment one agent hears that, oh, Newcastle are in talks with City to sell Isak, suddenly all of the big clubs around the world are going to go, hang on, Alexander Isak's available. Hang on, we want to enter that race. And I suppose that gives you a lot of money. But I hope for your sake he stays. I would like to think that my club could attract a player like that, but we don't do things like that. So you're safe from Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, Sava, I was going to say that there will be lots of clubs interested in him, but there'll only be a small amount of clubs that have that sort of financial power to be able to get a player like Alexander Isak out. And if you look at it, Man City have got Haaland. Real Madrid have got Mbappe and Vinny Jr. Barcelona, we don't know whether they've got money or whether they've got assets. Nobody knows with them. And then you look around, PSG maybe, but would he be attracted to go and play in Liga? I'm not sure. Then you're looking around and you're thinking, who else is there really in world football that can actually afford that type of player? Liverpool don't pay that level of fee. Arsenal, can they even afford him? They've got other positions they need to fill in as well. Can they spunk that whole budget on him? I'm not sure. So you're looking at that, and I'll be honest with you.
You're confident. You're confident he can stay. You're talking yourself into he's going to be there next year.
I've always thought we'd keep him for one more year. I think if he stays for one more year and he gets down to 2 years left on his contract, that magic 2 years is where you're on a balancing act. You either sign a new deal or you sell. And I think we were like that with Gordon this summer. He was on his 2 years. We signed him to a new contract, so we kept him. I think next season, summer 2026, will be crucial for Alexander. I do think we keep him for one more year, and then the cards will fall, and whatever happens.
For your sake, I hope you do keep him. I think you're right as well. There's not going to be many that have got that money to spend, and Newcastle are in the driving seat. Let's be brutally honest here. So for your sakes, I hope you keep him. Last thing I want to talk about, just for 2 or 3 minutes, is look, you have got the League Cup final coming up, and you are going to be playing that League Cup final, the second in 3 years, if I'm not wrong. You are going to be playing in that League Cup final without Anthony Gordon, who's been one of your best players for the last few years. What are your feelings about the final and Anthony Gordon just having one of them moments that hopefully he'll learn from that? But what a time to have a hot-headed moment like that. And does that put you at a significant disadvantage going into the final now?
I'll talk about Anthony Gordon first. So does it put us at a significant disadvantage? Absolutely, because he's one of our main players in the team. And he's been, alongside Isak, one of the main contributors to goals and assists in our team this season. So there's no doubt about we're going to miss his presence. I have to say, I think all of the fan base feel like this. We're incredibly disappointed, and we're putting that lightly. By the way, we're incredibly disappointed with how with his behaviour at such a crucial moment. Now, you have to remember, 2 years ago, we were in a very much a similar position with Nick Pope, and so when he got sent off against Liverpool. And he got that ban and he missed the cup final. That was a hammer blow I still believe to this day we beat Man United at Wembley with Nick Pope in goal. Karius is just not good enough, and he proved it on the day. He was shocking. So for me, I just look at that situation. He should have looked at that situation, the club, and it should be no mistakes. So the fact that he's done that, and he's done it when the referee had already blew the whistle and stopped play, and that happened after that, it was so unnecessary on so many levels. He has let the club and the fan base down. There was no doubt about it.
He had
he'll know
no
it.
need to do it, did he? Like when I first saw it, you know, I was watching it with my uncle, and I went, "Oh, VAR, I've seen something again. Just get on with it." And then when they showed the replay, I was just like, "Oh, Gordon, you silly boy! Like, you had no need to lash out." And listen, I feel for you. I really do. I feel for the Newcastle fans.
It was idiotic, and he'll know it. And I'm sure at some point, because we're not now appealing the ban, so his ban is in place. I'm sure he'll come out and he'll address it to the fan base at some point. And it puts us at a serious disadvantage for the second time in 3 years, the second time in 2 cup finals in 3 years. We are now going into that significantly hampered. Let's not forget, been confirmed that Lewis Hall is now not only missing the final, but is missing the rest of the season.
I saw that today.
There is talk about Sven Botman could be out past the final, so that he could be missing too. And so we are in a position where significantly we are losing our key players, which makes it even more frustrating that those players that are missing through injury, fine, it happens. When you're missing through stupid moments that could have been avoided, that's where, you know what, you could have done better there. You should have done better. You're an experienced player now that's playing international football, representing your country. You are constantly being put in the media to speak and to be that professional person. You've got to portray that on the pitch and off it too. And he didn't.
But think how sweeter it will be if you win it. Listen, we are running out of time, Pete, so I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions now to end the show. The first question, will Newcastle United be playing Champions League football next season?
What a question. I'm going to remain positive, and I'm going to say we're finishing 5th. So, yeah.
There you go. So, yes is the answer. Yes, you're finishing in the Champions League spot. Will Alexander Isak be a Newcastle player next season?
Yes.
And will you win the League Cup against Liverpool in, when is it, just over a week's time, week and a half? Will you win it?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Come on, I need to push you for a yes or no.
Right. Okay. I'm not doing this with my head. I'm doing it with my heart. I'm gonna back us to do the impossible. I'm gonna say yes, but I'm doing it with my heart, not my head. I'm doing it there.
Ladies and gents, I will be clipping that 1 minute that guarantees Champions League football next year. Isak remains at the club, and you will be the League Cup winners for 24-25. Listen, Pete, it's been an absolute pleasure. For everybody who, I'm sure everybody in the Newcastle space will know you, where can people find you, and what's your podcast and your show called?
You made me feel really positive today after that. Particularly after that 1 minute, I've been more positive than I felt all day. So I'm just putting that out there. But Loaded Mag, as you can see above me, Loaded Mag at nufc. Join myself, Daz, and Chris on the channel. We always talk all things Newcastle, but as well, as Savin knows, he's been on with us, the Top Table Talk, which is a panel show with all different football teams in the top half or the top table, as in the Premier League. Will come and join us for a chat on football each week. So lots of content going out there. Stay tuned with lots of cup final fever discussions over the next week and a half as well. Come and subscribe and come and join the live chat. Everybody is always welcome.
There you go. So please subscribe to Loaded Mag NUFC. The link to their channel will, of course, be in the bio for this show. Newcastle fans, football fans, let me know. Is Pete crazy? Is Pete going to be correct with his predictions? Has he been spot on about the season so far? Pete, it's been an absolute pleasure. Take care. And I'll end my show as always, shamelessly. Come on, you Spurs.